The Palestinians have a right to live. The Palestinians have a right to have their own country. And they have to learn how to live next to each other. It's that simple. And I think it is a failure of leadership on all of the parties, including America, to not have been able to bring them together. And because of the failure of the politicians, soldiers have to die fighting in those battles because no agreement has been reached. Innocent people have to die because of that. Children have to die. I mean, it's unnecessary. All of this stuff is because of a lack of communication and the skills of negotiating.
Get this straight. In the US, you can't protest Israel because they'll send in police to arrest you. You can't boycott Israel because 37 states have passed anti-boycott laws protecting Israel. And soon enough, you won't be able to criticize Israel because US politicians are about to pass a law that redefines what anti-Semitism is to include that criticizing the state of Israel is anti-Semitic. What the hell is going on? This is insane. People ask me why I've only talked about Israel and Palestine for the past 6 months. And my answer to that is, this is all American politics has become. Politicians have spent all of their time and energy over the past 6 months trying to protect Israel from its crimes. Everything they've done. The federal budget included dozens of things for Israel. They banned TikTok because of its pro-Palestinian influence. They're trying to redefine anti-Semitism. They've sent billions and billions of dollars to Israel. All of it, all the significant notable things the US government has done in the past 6 months has been for Israel. America has become overrun by Zionism. Zionism is what's in our politicians' wallets. Zionism is who our politicians look to, who they serve when they go on their annual trips to Israel. Zionism has turned the American government into a monstrosity that doesn't care about what the American people think, that doesn't care about humanity. They only care about what will get them more money from AIPAC and the pro-Israel lobby. It's no coincidence that Mike Johnson is funded by AIPAC. He gave Israel billions of dollars. It's no coincidence that Mike Gallagher is funded by AIPAC. He banned TikTok. No coincidence that Mike Lawler is funded by AIPAC, and he's about to change the definition of anti-Semitism to shut down these college protests and silence criticism of Israel. It's no coincidence that Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio are funded by AIPAC. They backed the TikTok ban, saying that TikTok needs to be banned because it is anti-Israel. They said this in Congress. It's no coincidence that the President of the United States, Joe Biden, has taken over $5 million in AIPAC money. He is taking the most money of any politician from the pro-Israel lobby. Our democracy has been stolen from us. We need new politicians who care about humanity. We need new politicians who actually do things for the American people and don't waste all of their time and all of the US tax dollars arguing about the best way they can protect Israel from the consequences of their atrocities. Make sure you're following me on Instagram so you can continue hearing my messages in the future. Thank you, and free Palestine.
No, Mr. Netanyahu, it is not anti-Semitic or pro-Hamas to point out that in a little over 6 months, your extremist government has killed 34,000 Palestinians and wounded more than 78,000, 70% of whom are women and children. It is not anti-Semitic to point out that your bombing has completely destroyed more than 221,000 housing units in Gaza, leaving more than 1 million people homeless, almost half the population. It is not anti-Semitic to note that your government has obliterated Gaza's civilian infrastructure, electricity, water, and sewage. It is not anti-Semitic to realize that your government has annihilated Gaza's healthcare system, knocking 26 hospitals out of service and killing more than 400 healthcare workers. It is not anti-Semitic to condemn your government's destruction of all of Gaza's 12 universities and 56 of its schools, with hundreds more damaged, leaving 625,000 students with no educational opportunities. It is not anti-Semitic to agree with virtually every humanitarian organization in saying that your government, in violation of American law, has unreasonably blocked humanitarian aid coming into Gaza, creating the conditions in which so many thousands of children face malnutrition and famine. Mr. Netanyahu, anti-Semitism is a vile and disgusting form of bigotry that has done unspeakable harm to many millions of people. But please, do not insult the intelligence of the American people by attempting to distract us from the immoral and illegal war policies of your extremist and racist government. Do not use anti-Semitism to deflect attention from the criminal indictment you are facing in the Israeli courts. It is not anti-Semitic to hold you accountable for your actions.
Je fais griller ma côte de bœuf en plottant le cul d'une meuf, en chantant. Et je chie sur cette époque, et je chie sur tous les woks, en chantant.
Madam Speaker, I rise in opposition to this resolution, not because I am taking sides and picking who the bad guys are and who the good guys are, but I'm looking at this more from the angle of being a United States citizen, an American, and I think resolutions like this really do us great harm. In many ways, what's happening in the Middle East, and in particular with Gaza right now, we have some moral responsibility for both sides in a way, because we provide help and funding for both Arab nations and Israel. And so we definitely have a moral responsibility, and especially now today, the weapons being used to kill so many Palestinians are American weapons, and American funds essentially are being used for this. But there's a political liability which I think is something that we fail to look at, because too often there's so much blowback from our intervention in areas that we shouldn't be involved in. You know, Hamas, if you look at the history, you'll find out that Hamas was encouraged and really started by Israel, because they wanted Hamas to counteract Yasser Arafat. And you say, well, yeah, that was better then and served its purpose, but we didn't want Hamas to do this. So then we as Americans say, well, we have such a good system, we're going to impose this on the world. We're going to invade Iraq and teach people how to be Democrats. We want free elections. So we encourage the Palestinians to have a free election. They do, and they elect Hamas. So we first, indirectly and directly through Israel, help establish Hamas. Then we have election. Then Hamas becomes dominant, so we have to kill them. You know, it just doesn't make sense. During the 80s, you know, we were allied with Osama bin Laden. And we were contending with the Soviets. It was at that time our CIA thought it was good if we radicalized the Muslim world. So we financed the madrasa schools to radicalize the Muslims in order to compete with the Soviets. There's too much blowback. There's a lot of reasons why we should oppose this resolution. It is not in the interest of the United States. It's not in the interest of Israel either.
Keep up.
Just so you understand, I never mentioned the word or the name of Israel. Never mentioned it in that conversation. They will say I did. So you had another story. Never mentioned the word Israel.
All right. the Korean airliner was shot down. There was a lot of hue and cry and moral outrage, and we got it in the United Nations and so forth. In 1978 or 79, the Israelis shot down a Libyan civilian aircraft because it had violated Israeli airspace. President Nixon sent a wire to Gaddafi and to Sadat apologizing for this incident. There was no talk about it going into the United Nations. The International Pilots Associations had their meeting. There was 102 nations that voted to condemn Israel, and 4 that voted not to, and the American representative abstained. Why? Because we couldn't create an enemy there. But when the Soviets shoot down an airliner, the same situation, we rise in moral outrage against this act. What is the difference? Because it's insistent. We must insist that the Soviets have got to be created as an enemy. Otherwise, if they're not really a big enough enemy, how are we going to get appropriations for more arms? Now, and I'd like to get into the other area. I'm sorry if this is a speech and you don't like them, but people keep talking about national security, and we got to be tough and we got to be strong. Okay, we're tough and we're strong, and we've released all these missiles now, the intermediate range missile, the Pershing II, and we're going to have more Tridents too. And what was the Soviet response? The Soviet response is to put cruise missile into attack submarines and put more of them off our coast. Now, if someone's going to tell me that that increases our national security, well, I don't know. It's a whole ballgame that I don't understand.
Slaughter in Gaza has nothing to do with the conflict between religions, between Judaism and Islam. We have been living together as Jews and Muslims for literally hundreds of years, thousands of years. We've been living together with Arab people. You can see how we live together. It's only an introduction of a political movement called Zionism, and it's using the name of Judaism to declare war on the people of Palestine, to declare and vilify the people of Palestine that they're anti-Semites, anti-Jews. That's totally repugnant and false. We cannot be silent. We're Jews. Because we're Jews, we have to stand up and say, this is not true, it's not in our name. We totally object to this. We cry and hurt with the people of Gaza and Palestine. This is not a religious state, it's not a Jewish state. They're using the name Israel, they're masquerading in the Star of David in the name Israel. This is a criminal entity.
I will not bow to a foreign flag. I will not serve a foreign government. The Republican Party, the GOP of California, is nothing but Zionist stooges. They do the bidding of a foreign power that has committed terrorist attacks against this country. The USS Liberty in 1967, over 200 casualties. They machine gunned the life rafts. They used napalm on the casualties that were being triaged on deck. They planted bombs in U.S. military targets, morale, wellness, and readiness facilities in Egypt in the 1950s. They were trying to blow up United States servicemen and their families in Egypt and blame it on the Arabs. Israeli citizens committed these terrorist acts. It is by a stroke of luck that we detected the bombs before they went off and hurt any U.S. citizens or U.S. military personnel in Egypt in the Lavon affair. All of the people involved in the Lavon affair were Israeli citizens pretending to be Egyptian Arabs. We turned them over to the embassy in Cairo on orders of our United States State Department. Terrorists trying to kill Americans in a false flag attack. Never punished. Turned over to the Israeli government. They were never punished. These people are heroes in Israel. June 1967, USS Liberty, 51 years ago almost now. Over 200 casualties in a false flag attack. We know there are Israeli fingerprints all over the 9/11 attacks. This is the flag of a terrorist country. They called the police on me when I started stepping on it, dragging it under my foot as I walked out the door. I was being escorted out by security. I'm leading with more than twice the support of the nearest person in third place. And they kicked me out because I won't serve a foreign power. I want you to remember this. If you're a liberal, if you're a right-winger, if you are against the genocide going on in Palestine, if you're against United States servicemen dying in wars to expand Israel, if you're against veterans being dishonored at a convention where they're the leading candidate because they won't serve this terrorist flag, you have to vote for me on June 5th in California. We need to send a loud and clear message to AIPAC. That Israeli dual citizen Dianne Feinstein, she serves this flag. I'll never serve this flag. Vote for me on June 5th in California, and I will remove the Jewish supremacist Zionists from our government. And I'll make America great again by removing the terrorist element, the Zionist lobby.
Pictures what you didn't see in the last 80 years. The last time what we saw this kind of pictures what you see in Gaza was by Hitler, by the Nazis. So they creating anti-Semitism. They didn't save us from anti-Semitism. They just endanger us. This is really what our rabbis said before the creation of the state for 85 years ago. The ʀᴏ Chaim, other great rabbis, that if they will have a state, they will endanger Jews. They will just bring disasters. And that's what we see with our eyes. The state of Israel only brings bloodshed. Bloodshed after bloodshed. Just a disaster. That's what they're bringing. They're burning anti-Semitism under the foot of Jewish people all over the world. They didn't bring any safeness to Jewish people. However, I can understand that people like Lubavitch, like Chabad, get confused in the thinking, oh, a big army will protect us. However, just look the plain fact. They protect you or they endanger you.
בנימין נתניהו, אתה נתניהו מסיים את דרכך כשכל העולם מדבר על מדינת פלסטין. אתה מסיים את דרכך במצב הביטחוני הכי גרוע למדינת ישראל. אתה התרברבת בכלכלה, תראה את המצב הכלכלי. כל העולם מדבר על מדינת פלסטין. אני גאה בעם הזה שנאבק למען שחרורו. אין דרך חוץ מהכיר בזכויות הלאומיות של שני העמים, מדינה לצד מדינה, ויהיה שלום שיטיב עם הפלסטינים ועם היהודים, למרות המדיניות הגזענית שלך. תעוף